Welcome back to the channel. Now I'm not gonna lie, I got a healthy collection of physical Switch games, but just like my digital games, I love getting them for cheap. If you're just like me and like getting physical games for the Switch for cheap, then this video is perfect for you. In this video, I got 10 Switch games that are great pickups for your physical collection and can be had for $25 or less on average. While you're watching, feel free to post some physical Switch games that you found for cheap in the comments. Always happy to see those comments. Anyway, it's time to buff up your Switch collection, my friends. So make sure to hang on and subscribe to the channel as I tell you about some awesome physical Switch games. I'm going to kick off the list with an absolute banger, one of the best third-party games you can nab on the Switch. Monster Hunter Rise is the latest game in the famed series, and it just might be the best one yet, featuring huge improvements to the gameplay and make combat faster than ever with updated moves and weapons, as well as the addition of the wire bug mechanics. It's a blast to play through solo or through multiplayer. Speaking of the multiplayer, it's excellent. Teaming up with others to fight monsters is as addicting as ever. Now this is a game that has received a lot of updates since it came out, in addition to the expansion pass that came out last year, so do keep in mind that if you want to experience all the updates that this game has to offer, you won't need to connect to the online regularly to get those updates. That all said, physically, it is cheap to get. It can be had for around $20 used, and it can be found for new for $25 or less on average. RPG fans, especially JRPG fans, don't sleep on Monster Hunter Stories 2 Rings of Ruin. It's an awesome game as well, featuring turn-based combat centered around finding and raising those famed monsters of the series. It's an extremely polished game. I really love the energy this game has. Its combat is very animated, especially when it comes to those special attacks, and the game just has a lot of life about it. Another big plus for this game is the co-op multiplayer. It allows you to team up with another player to fight monsters together and find powerful eggs to hatch. Very few JRPGs have multiplayer, and it's really nice to see them include that. Now this game can be found for around $22 used, and just like Monster Hunter Rise, can be found for under $25 new as well. Speaking of RPGs, let's add one more to the list. Cris Tales gets overlooked quite often in my view. I think the visuals are fantastic, I love the art style, and I really like the time gameplay mechanics, which make use of the past, present, and future times in both combat and exploring. I think the game is pretty cool, and maybe it's just because there's so many RPGs on the system, it gets overlooked. But hey, if you're into getting Switch physical games, getting Cris Tales doesn't cost that much at all. It can be found for around $10 used. Yes, just around 10. And new can be found for under 15. At those prices, I think this game is a no-brainer to get for your collection. I've done these cheap physical Switch games videos for a while now, and long-time viewers might remember me talking about Saints Row the Third, the full package in a previous one. Well, its sequel on Switch, Saints Row 4, can also be found for pretty cheap too in physical form. You can nab it for around $16 used on average, and under $20 new. Now as for the game, this sequel is a lot of fun, and really takes the series in a much more over-the-top direction, even more so than the third game. In this game you're able to obtain superhero powers while fighting an alien invasion. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy game, but I love it. It also features online co-op, so yeah, have a friend grab a copy so they can team up with you in the fight against the alien invasion as well. I love fighting games, and today's video features two of them. The first one, Dragon Ball FighterZ, is a 2D fighting game developed by Arc System Works. It is quite possibly the best fighting game featuring the Dragon Ball characters, and it might be the best 2D fighting game on the Switch. The 3-on-3 fighting gameplay is a blast. The game itself is very easy to pick up and play. There's a lot of characters to play as, and the game has a pretty lengthy story mode, and of course there's lots of multiplayer options. After playing the Switch version, I was really happy with how the performance of the game ended up being. It is a great version of the game. You can nab this for around $19 used and around $22 new. The other fighting game on this list, Mortal Kombat 11, is a surprisingly good port to the Switch as well. Performance-wise, it's pretty capable and plays well. The game has a lot of content to play and enjoy, so getting it for cheap is a good value if you're looking for a fighting game to sink some time into. It can be found pretty often for around $16 in the used market, and as far as new, it can be found for around $20. Great performance, a lot of content, and it's cheap makes it an easy recommend to anyone who wants a good fighting game for the Switch. Longtime viewers know I got a soft spot for rhythm games and music games. And trust me, I'm always on the lookout for getting one for cheap on the Switch. One that can be had for cheap pretty regularly is Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. Now, I'm not the biggest Kingdom Hearts fan for sure, but I can appreciate this game because it tries to do something different from other music games out there. The gameplay is kind of like an action music game, as you need to jump, fly, and attack to the beat of the music. There's over 140 songs to play through, so this game has a lot of content too. It's rather cheap to get, and can be found for around $20 used and just under $25 new on the regular. Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remaster is a good version of the PS2 classic, featuring remastered visuals with additional difficulty settings and save options, and even has the ability to choose between the Japanese or English voiceovers. It is the de facto best way to play the game. The game itself is quite good, a bit older in the RPG design of course, but recruiting those monsters is as fun as ever, as is experiencing the dark game that it is. Now, even though the game can be challenging, even on normal difficulty, which is typical for Shin Megami games, those additional difficulty settings, as well as save options in this version, can help alleviate it a bit if you're new to the series or just desire an easier experience. The game itself can be found for around $22 used, and just a little bit more for a new copy. Now, this next one might seem like a surprise, but Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, the official video game, is a cheap game that I've had a lot of fun with. It often gets passed over because, yeah, it's considered a sports game, but it really is more like a mini-game, arcade-style game collection of events to play. There's 18 events in this game, and admittedly, not everyone is a winner, but some events, like baseball and rugby, are a lot of fun and easy to pick up and play. This game also features a neat create a character mode in this game. We can even dress up players in crazy gear like a full Sonic costume. It can be found for around $10 used, which is dirt cheap, and around $13 new. So yeah, it's a really inexpensive game to get on the Switch, and it's one that might surprise you with how much fun that can be had for just a few bucks. For the final game, let's bring one back from one of the videos from long ago. Yes, let's talk about Katamari Damacy Reroll. This is an excellent remaster of the PS2 game that has you rolling up objects with your Katamari to make it as big as possible to restore the stars in the sky. It is a crazy game, but it's an addicting one that is a blast to play now as it was back then. The game also has a lot of replayability too, as you'll want to replay the levels over and over to get the best score. It's a worthy game for any Switch owner to get, especially since it can be found for so cheap. You can find it usually for around $15 used and under $20 new. If you've never played a Katamari Damacy game before, trust me, get this game, you will not regret it. It's a fantastic experience. There you go, that's 10 Switch games, good ones that you can get on the cheap. Now I actually have a whole playlist covering Switch physical games, especially ones that can be found for cheap, so feel free to check out those past videos if you're into getting Switch physical games like myself. I'll leave a link to that playlist at the end of this video, as well as in the comments. As far as other cheap games for the Switch, I also cover those awesome eShop sales, so if you like digital games for cheap, make sure to check out that playlist too. I usually put out one video a week covering highlights from the eShop. If you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so yet, so you can stay up to date with all the latest videos. But for now, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.